if you've been playing this game for a while, you remember a time where Mike Morhaime and all these guys were at Blizzard, and you also remember the time when they all started leaving, one by one, trickling away from Blizzard and starting their own dev companies. That's right, with the promise of bringing us maybe some new MMO or something new or something old Blizzard, esque, right? They promised that they were going to bring back the good old days from Blizzard. Well, turns out making a game's a little bit harder than it looks, right? I would expect these guys know how to do it, but maybe running a company from the ground up, which Mike Morhaime did do with Blizzard, but the second shot at it doesn't seem to be working out the same way. Let's check out what's going on with the ex-Blizzard employees with their new companies and how it's all going.
Turns out those ex-Blizzard developers are having quite a fight, but unfortunately for them, that fight is against the economy. So let's get into things. Thunderfolk is a relatively new game that just sold 62,000 copies. That is not enough copies to recoup its money. And Mike Morhaime, the Blizzard
By the way, if you don't know what Thunderfolk is, it's kind of a take like on a Magic the Gathering-esque style game. It's like a board game in the game. So what's really cool is Thunderfolk, only one person has to buy the game, and then you can invite like 4 people over to your home, and you can all play the game as your characters and play through it. It's really cool. Maybe I'm doing a bad job of explaining it, but like I said, it's like maybe like a board game in the game. I don't know how to explain it. I'm doing a fucking shitty job. But anyways, it's a cool concept, and a lot of people liked it, praised it when it first came out, but it looks like they're not hitting the sales numbers they need to.
Not enough copies to recoup its money, and Mike Morhaime, the Blizzard co-founder, who left to make Dream Games free from corporate interference, has now had to do the bad thing. He's now had to announce layoffs in Dreamhaven's publishing group.
Oh, no.
And sadly, he is not alone.
See, what he's trying to do, what Mike Morhaime's trying to do, and it's noble in that he's trying to avoid needing investors, right? He's trying to avoid going to the stock market, essentially, going live and becoming behooven to the investors and what they want the company to do, because that's what happened with Blizzard, right? Blizzard goes public. Now you're an investor-facing company. You answer to the investors. You can no longer just make games for the sake of making games. You got to do what they want you to do because they're putting money into your company and they want to see returns. That's what they care about. They don't give a shit about the quality of the game. They just want to see returns on their investments. And that's what he's trying to avoid right now at Dreamhaven, but it looks like he's running into some trouble.
The exodus from Blizzard Entertainment was quite massive. Once Warcraft designer turned Riot MMO lead Greg Street founded Fantastic Pixel Castle. You've got Tim Morton of StarCraft launching Frost Giant Studios, Chris Kalecki, a veteran Warcraft designer, creating Notorious Studios.
Yeah, if you were around during this time, you kept seeing this over and over. It was like every time a very high-level Blizzard exec left Blizzard, it was almost like guaranteed that they were going to take a bunch of people with them and start another games company. This was like such a normal thing, and it was almost like they were using their reputation at Blizzard to get people to buy into their new company. That's what was really going on, and it was happening all the time back then.
And those guys are just the beginning. The whole made by ex-Blizzard devs kind of became a marketing pitch. It was the promise of veteran talent
what I was saying.
Finally free from Bobby Kotick.
Now it looks like I pre-watched,
free to create. And some of those people did find success. Theorycraft Games landed their MOBA, Second Dinner, of course, coming from Ben Brode of Hearthstone fame. They kind of crushed it with Marvel's Snap, but others have not done so well. Imaginary Studios went through layoffs before they even launched. The same happened to Lightforge Games. And then, most recently, Uncapped Games cancelled Battle Aces less than a year after revealing it.
WildStar with Carbine Studios. Yeah, WildStar was a little bit before this trend really kicked off, though. WildStar... I'll be honest, I think WildStar was the best thing to come out of any Blizzard ex-Blizzard employees. WildStar was just wrong time. I don't know, wrong place, wrong time. I feel like if WildStar came out today, it would do much better than it did back then. If you didn't play it, it was an MMO that kind of shied away from tab targeting and really went to like full live targeting systems. It had a very cartoony look to it, much like World of Warcraft does. The art style and everything, you could definitely tell was like kind of WoW-esque. I thought it was a cool game. I did. I thought it was one of the most promising MMOs we've seen since World of Warcraft, and it fell flat on its face after a while.
This is pretty rough, and you'd expect some failures just based on probabilities.
Now they're implementing WildStar features into retail. Well, yeah, no surprise.
Was supposed to be different. They had Mike Morhaime. Morheims are pretty rich. They also had many of the biggest names from Blizzard. And here we are today, recording this video. So let's get into it. You know what drives me kind of mad? Walking out of a video planning meeting with pages of scribbled notes that may as well be hieroglyphics. Half the action items missing, and by the time I decipher what I've written, I've kind of forgotten the context. And this is where today's sponsor, the Plod Note, has become essential. It's an AI note taker that's the size of a credit card, and it magnetically attaches to my phone. And quite simply, when I'm in a meeting, I just click to capture everything, and that means I'm not thinking about taking notes, I am actually present with my people. And using the Plod instead of my phone means no phone battery stuff, no storage warnings, no call interruptions, none of that, and I get pure, nice focus, no distractions. Now,
this thing's going to be
Plod automatically.
This thing's going to be used for blackmail purposes. People are going to have the Plod Note on their phone and just fucking AI
transcribes everything. It generates
private
structured
conversations,
summaries with action items that I can share with the team. And the Ask Plod function they've got is brilliant. You can actually query across all of your meetings. As an example, I could say, what did Jared say about the lore timeline changes in Warcraft Chronicle Volume 4? And it will go and fetch that. So basically, it's a second brain that remembers context. And privacy matters, obviously. Plod uses end-to-end encryption, and it meets SOC 2, GDPR, and HIPAA standards. Your data stays yours. The device itself has 30 hours of non-stop recording with 64 gigs of storage, so it easily handles my entire week. And at $159,
wow, you got a code for us, Bellular?
In basically no time at all. And you can check it out at plod.ai/Bellular. Because when you're doing important work with people, your brain should be focused on them and on creativity, not stenography. It's a big, big win. Back in May, we talked about Dreamhaven's
kind of a cool item.
Consumer friend.
Hey, Sammy, what do you think about the rumors that add-on removal will transform WoW into a console-friendly game that's cross-play? I think that's going to happen. I do. Add-on removal, I don't think, though, the only benefit of it is, this game can now be ported over to console. I think it drops a barrier to entry. I feel like add-ons have always been a barrier to entry to this game. And I'm not just talking about like picking up the game and starting to play. That's an issue, too. Because explaining add-ons to somebody who's never downloaded them and telling them they can't play WoW properly until they do so, that's a barrier, for sure. Like, some people will just get intimidated by that shit and they'll walk away. They won't play WoW. So taking that away is a great thing, but it's also a barrier to entry to features, right? Like, if you want a raid for the first, you get excited, you want to jump into a raid, and you don't have an add-on, you could literally get kicked from the raid for that shit, which sucks because, again, everything that you need to play the game properly should be in the game. So a removal of add-ons, I think, there's a second side to it, and that it does make the game more console-friendly for sure. And whether or not that's the motivation behind it, not sure. But I definitely see with one-button rotation and stuff that, the game is becoming more console-friendly.
Approach. You see, their role-playing game, Sunderfolk, used the free-to-share model. The idea being that one person could buy the game and then 4 could play it.
Yeah,
just
that's
like
what I was
how
talking
you buy
about.
A board game to play with your friends. And at the time, we hoped this would help it grow and find a sustainable niche, even if that niche was small. But it seems the niche was too small, and that hope is now kind of dashed because Bloomberg reported the numbers. At the end of August, Mike Morhaime told staff the truth, that Sunderfolk had sold just 62,000 copies.
Ooh.
Well, that's not the only bit of bad news. Their July release, which was Wildgate, a Sea of Thieves arena-style spaceship game,
sounds cool.
It only sold 130,000 copies. Now, for loads of games...
I never even heard of this shit. Wildgate, a Sea of Thieves-esque open pirate shooter? Space? What the hell? Did they not advertise this properly? Because that actually sounds like a cool game.
Spaceship game... Well,
maybe Mikey Boy needs to invest in some
Now,
advertising.
for loads of games, 130,000 copies is awesome. But obviously not if you're working at Dreamhaven scale, and certainly not if you're mostly doing that with American talent, as opposed to the emerging trend of having a small...
Okay, assholes, you all need a license now. Yeah, what's sad about what's happening with Dreamhaven is they tried to do the right thing by the players almost, right? Like, as Bellular just described, they went with a model where if one person owns the game, 4 people can join and play the game because it's like a digital board game almost, which was a really cool strategy, right? And it was like, hey, maybe this will work. Maybe this will get one of those 4 people. Then they go home and they want to buy the game too. And it's kind of like a trial almost for those people. Versus, the free to play, let's just microtransaction everything to death model. Unfortunately, it looks like Mike Morhaime's strategy didn't work. And the way to do it correctly is go free to play and just transaction people to death. It's sad because I hate that fucking model. But, I mean, the wallets speak, and for some reason, fucking people love that model. They just love to free-to-play shit and be forced to buy currencies on top of currencies and all kinds of shit, and that's the actual way for these companies to make money. So a lot of times when we're hating on these companies for that kind of behavior, you got to remember, they're only doing it because you fuckboys keep buying into it. Yeah, don't forget that. Like, if we don't pay for this shit, they're not going to do it that way. But people keep paying. I don't know if it's a bunch of 12-year-olds with mom's credit card or what. That's the way to do it.
Whole core team, and then outsourcing the shit out of everything that you can. You know, looking at you, Space Marine 2, for one example. Wildgate even had cosmetics and battle passes, but just look at the Steam numbers, guys. They started low,
it looks cool,
kept dropping, and Mike Morhaim's messaging was fairly blunt. Here's the quote. Our monthly expenses are outpacing revenue.
Shit,
that's
never
not
what
good.
You
want to hear your boss saying. And the new focus for the company is, quote, urgently reducing costs.
That's
which is also
layoffs.
Never the thing you want to hear.
Layoffs.
And then came an admission. We are committed to Dreamhaven surviving through this. Now, that's good for Dreamhaven. That's good for loads of people at Dreamhaven. But
doesn't mean you'll survive.
People are going to be losing jobs.
Yeah.
And that specifically meant layoffs in the publishing wing. In early September, Mike Morhaim posted on LinkedIn about these cuts, and the core claim is that those were made to protect Wildgate and Sunderfolk. Development continues unaffected, according to PC.
We need to do evil shit to be sustainable. Look, I mean, like, as much as I work in the corporate world, so I disdain, layoffs. I feel like it's just done so easily these days. But I understand when a company is being run into the ground, and they legitimately tried to make a good product, it just didn't land well, that layoffs have to happen. You just can't, the numbers don't add up. You can't afford all these paychecks going out and not enough money's coming in to cover those paychecks. That's just rudimentary math. It makes sense. So at that point, yeah, you do got to reduce, headcount at that, right? What pisses me off about corporate America today is these companies, the big boys like Apple and Microsoft and Google, and they'll report record profits. They'll be like, whoa, this last quarter we had record profits, or last year we had record profits. Oh, by the way, we're laying off another 6,000 employees. That's the shit that's fucked up. That's the evil side of corporate America, right? Where they realize, like, yeah, thank you for contributing to our record profits, you 6,000 employees. Now your division's been cut. That's the never-ending hamster wheel chase of more profits. Because just because you hit a record this quarter doesn't mean you don't have to. Then you have to again. You have to continually set records, otherwise investors will bail on your ass. They just want to continually see improvement. So but Dreamhaven doesn't answer to that. They don't have investors. The reason for their layoffs are, well, we pay X amount of people and we just don't have enough money to pay the X amount of people. So unless you're going to work for free, we got to lay some people off. And you can't work for free. It goes against employment laws. So you got to let people go. That's unfortunate.
Gamer. Wildgate was set to launch its China server with NetEase on September 24th. They're still planning multiple seasons of content. And the reason why is that from Dreamhaven's perspective...
It's the first thing they do. Yeah, and what's unfortunate too is a lot of times the people who made the decisions that led to the issues are not the ones that get fired, right? Like the Gruntwork employees are not the ones who decided to go with a certain model or a certain game style or whatever. But they're the ones who pay the price while the executives making millions get to still remain in their seats. That's another issue that we can get into.
They're not making bad games. The problem is actually bigger than that. What they're doing is trying to survive in one of the most hostile versions of the games industry we have ever seen. Remember our Silksong video? In that, we talked about developers doing everything right, but still failing. And Dreamhaven does actually fit that mold quite well. You have small teams, clear scopes, dedicated releases, no egregious monetization, and they were making games in proven genres.
Yeah.
This is not a studio that failed to deliver good video game content. People who played their games actually did like them. Now, obviously, that's quite the contrast with Frost Giant and Stormgate, which I also do have to talk about. And Bloomberg says that they are potentially facing layoffs and revenue problems, which, to be honest, is completely expected. Look at the Steam scores, and we will actually cover Stormgate properly in another video
negative.
soon. But Steam reviews do show a key difference here. Players are mixed in Stormgate, so maybe it makes sense that
that dropped off a cliff.
Dreamhaven's games are unanimously liked by people. It's just there's not enough people playing them.
But that's the thing, though. Like, Dreamhaven seems like they're making good games, but I never heard of Wildgate. Ever. I heard of Sunderfolk, but when did this game come out? Was I living under a rock? Because it sounds like something very interesting. So again, I don't know if like Mike just ran out of money and didn't advertise his games properly or what, but this shit never showed up for me.
Wider problem. These companies formed around
might
the
have bought
core
it.
idea that ex-Blizzard veterans could deliver great
What's up,
games,
Rogue?
and that because those games would be so great, made by these veterans, that you would get scale and you would get financial success. But what's happened to those people is that the market has changed dramatically from under their feet over just a few years. And this isn't really just about new IP or independent studios. I mean, look at Expedition 33. That is a pitch of, developers who left AAA to make...
The dude that said the only obligation of a company is to provide value to the shareholders has blood on his hands. I mean, it's not a guy who said that. That's like in every corporation's articles of incorporation. If you don't know what an article of incorporation is, it's basically like the bylaws of the foundation of the company. Like, these are the laws, this is the Bible of our company. This is how our company operates. And the reason why they put in that our company has a fiduciary duty to the shareholders to provide value, that's like a typical line that are in all of the bylaws for all these publicly traded companies. They put that in there because they want these people's money. And these people are going to look for that in there because they're like, they don't want to give you their money if, like, your bylaws say our goal is to create the best games for players and we're going to just do things that do that. Then they're not going to give you their money. They want to know that if they give you their money, your most important goal at the end of the day is to return on that investment. So that's why that exists. It's just like it's a bylaw that gets you money, essentially.
The passion project actually working and still resonating, even without an established brand to help them stand out. I mean, that's clearly not an essential thing, but what is essential, apparently, is
It's because the
standing out as one of
Dodge
best
brothers
years for
suing
games
Ford.
ever. Expedition 33 did
case law
that,
there.
but as we covered in this video about a game with an eerily similar development backstory, shows not all of them did. And we're left in a position where these developers bet that their veteran status would kind of help them stand out. That just hasn't really worked out. Now, I want you to think about demographics. Younger players don't care about ex-Blizzard credentials. People like me might, but not new players. And meanwhile, the games press has been utterly gutted. And now I know that for a lot of...
The problem with the people who would care about ex-Blizzard credentials are probably older. They care because they played the old Blizzard games. But because they're older and they've been around for so long, most likely these, people in their mid to late 30s, 40s, even 50s, they don't have the time to play multiple games anymore. Right? They got other shit going on. They got kids. They're married. They got a job. They got all this shit going on. Playing multiple games isn't in the cards for them. You know who plays multiple games? 15-year-olds. What the fuck does a 15-year-old care about an ex-Blizzard employee? They've never played a good Blizzard game. Right? They don't know about all these good games that Blizzard came out with. So those people who have a lot of time to play, they're just not gonna be impressed by the ex-Blizzard shit. And the ones who are impressed by it don't have the time to play your game. So I mean, it's like a double-edged sword. Rogue, you want love life advice? I don't know if I'm the guy for that. You could DM me. Shit.
People that came off as a good
Not if I
thing.
give good advice.
Those damn journos have finally got what's due. There's a little bit of a side problem, though. There's very few people working in games press now. Like, legitimately, it is tiny. Now, it is the case. There's people like me, on YouTube and stuff. But it's not just that it's tiny. A lot of those people have got to chase news, and they've got to chase things like guides.
Exactly,
because that's
Arcadimus.
what brings in money for their lovely corporate owners. So that role of the press in finding interesting games, interesting development stories, and basically surfacing that to readers, that has kind of went down. Now, what is good is, YouTube,
Damn.
Twitch.
Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm blaming Dreamhaven for not advertising their game properly, but maybe some of that blame falls on the media. Because now, like, the media used to do their research. They'd find these diamonds in the rough. They'd report on these really cool games coming out. Game Informer and all these fucking magazines and stuff that used to exist. Now they're like in website format. They don't do that as much anymore. Now it's like a pay-to-play kind of thing when it comes to being in these game-centric news-related stuff. right? Where like you show up to Game Informer or whoever else, a PC gamer, and you pay for a spot. You're like, hey, we got a new game. You should check it out. Here's a free sample and some maybe some money to run a page on us. And so that kind of free advertising shit doesn't work anymore. It doesn't exist. That's just a media thing now.
Lots of people discover new games through creators there, which is great. But even with that, creators are drowning in new releases, and everyone's kind of chasing trends. And that basically means you can launch a good game and have nobody notice. And the most dangerous side effect here is that publishers are really cutting their losses. Obviously, everything comes back to funding. Both Dreamhaven and Frostgiant have got the same problem where their spending is exceeding their revenue. Right. And that's after their games have came out. But some developers don't even get that chance. Bloomberg have a report containing dire news for Greg Street's fantastic Pixel Castle.
Oh no.
And they're making a fantasy MMO. There's direct lineage to, of course, Greg's work on Warcraft. Now, NetEase promised them $100 million in funding, but now reportedly they're lowering that figure. Now, NetEase did deny this to Bloomberg.
It's so hard to make an MMO, man. It's so expensive. It's so expensive and so time-consuming, and you only have one shot to get it right. And if you don't get it right, shutter the doors. You just put all that money and time into this thing. There is no way you're going to recoup that. So it's a tough venture to go make an MMO, and that's what he's trying to do.
They said the budget understanding
It's not a phone game. You know, you fuck up a phone game, well, the 3 devs that made it, that's all right. You figure out something else to do. But you fuck up an MMO, you got teams of hundreds of people that have put freaking a decade into making this shit. Yeah, it's going to be problems.
Had was inaccurate. But here's what's strange. Greg Street followed all the right trends with a small team and heavy outsourcing of cost-efficient development. So in theory, everything was being done correctly there. Yet, the contents of the Bloomberg report are what they are. And while NetEase may deny that, we can just look at what NetEase have been doing in general. You see, this happened right as the company started their creator preview campaign, and there's quite a NetEase pattern of reducing overseas investment after luring developers from secure positions. That may seem like me saying a bunch of words, but
no, that's fucked up.
There's been a trend. It's happened with ex-BioWare studios as well, where...
Are they purposely sabotaging? Okay, if you don't know NetEase, they're a Chinese company, massive Chinese company, basically one of the biggest in gaming, who, they pick up, they'll invest in games, they'll do stuff like that. They are Blizzard. They are the reason why World of Warcraft exists in China. You have to have a Chinese backer, and they are the Chinese backer for Blizzard in China. So that's why they can play World of Warcraft over there. So is NetEase intentionally investing in American companies or promising to invest in them so they invest all this time and money and then pulling the money to fuck them over? Is that like some kind of, foreign takeover of U.S. gaming markets? Shit. That sounds corrupt as fuck if that's what's going on.
NetEase do appear to fund studios and then pull that funding really goddamn quick. And that's leading us into a dire place, because in the ideal world, these people get their sort of veteran dev status by putting in the work, and then they go off and they do their own thing. And that's supposed to be the type of what you would call creative destruction that happens in a market that drives innovation, because that veteran dev, they might be working in World of Warcraft.
NetEase is doing its fiduciary duty, or is it doing the duty of the government in China? I mean, all Chinese corporations, there's entanglement with the government. It's a communist country, so that's how, shit works over there. And so companies can be used almost like a war tactic in a way, right? You can outcompete your foreign competitors by using government funds, right? You don't have to be profitable. You can just get money pumped in from the Chinese government and continue to undercut your competition. There's a whole bunch of shit that goes into this. I study this stuff all the time. It's part of what I do for work too. So yeah, economic warfare, exactly. So there are a lot of shit going on. And the games industry being bigger than the movie industry, and very much a way that you can, influence people, because it's a media, it's a form of media. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese government's using NetEase to destroy American and European and other foreign game makers, right? To leave themselves at the top of the mountain.
But maybe they don't like the direction it's going
Interesting.
in. Maybe they think, you know what? I can actually do something more interesting. And that's how the incumbents of today get defeated by...
If NetEase invest, they expect a return. If there isn't a return, that's fine if they're treating everybody the same. If you look deeper into NetEase and you realize they're not pulling funding from Chinese companies, Chinese-based game makers, the same way they're doing to, say, American game makers, then there might be something else behind what they're doing.
The new incumbents of tomorrow. But that's not really what's happened here in the games industry.
I don't know the numbers.
What's
I'm
happened
just saying
is a lot of those veterans have left.
Suspicious
but
of
then their companies have crashed and burned. And that's all happened whilst the games industry is in an investment drought. Now, at the same time, and at the other end of the scale, funding for indies and funding for AA projects is, by all accounts, at a real low point. And that basically means we're really in a pickle here. And not just in a way where a few games may be disappointing. I mean this in a way where the actual industry is becoming way less healthy. And the idea that, the rug can be pulled before a game can even find its audience is spooky, it's depressing, but the risk is kind of simple. Because by the time these games release, the market might not care. And we have so many examples of the market not caring.
Yeah,
because what are most people doing? Playing Fortnite. They're playing Roblox.
Right.
They're playing the same 10 games that they've been mostly playing for the last 10 years. We literally have hard data to back that point up. People buying new games isn't as normal as it used to be. That means the games industry is changing. And what we're left with today is, I think, not what those Blizzard veterans thought they would be dealing with whenever they decided to go off to new pastures, find new funding, try to do some cool new shit. So, Dreamhaven...
Yeah, real quick, just a side note. Yeah, foreign entities are definitely looking at gaming and investing in gaming. Jamal, you just reminded me. We haven't even talked about it. EA got purchased up by basically Saudi Arabia. Essentially, an arm of the Saudi Arabian government just purchased EA Games, like, not too long ago. So, that's a wild one, too. Like, yeah, the investments are there, and money is there for the games industry. It's just being used in different ways these days. Probably because of the I don't know why I read that as Ouroboros of investments ruining games. We expect magic unicorns of people working for free and making overnight successes. What it comes down to, and we praise indie games all the time, but investors are finding indie games to be more investable, right? Like, you got a team of 3 guys making a mobile game, and if that mobile game pops off, the return on your investment's insane, right? It's a small amount of money that you put up front, but if that fucking game goes nuts, like a Candy Crush or something, the return on your investment is insane, thousands of %. Whereas if you invest in a company like a Fantastic Pixel Castle, it's going to take a massive upfront investment, and the return, while it can be good, there's a good chance that it could be fucking garbage too. So, and if you lose out on that giant investment into that MMO, that's going to hurt a lot more than, say, the 3 guys making a mobile game where, you just put a little bit of chump change. See if you get it. It's like a gambler. See if you get some back. That's what's going on, too.
Are doing layoffs. Frost Giant are probably going to have layoffs as well. There are other stories of, the ex-Blizzard devs.
Yeah, Arcadimus. Propaganda is a big reason why they want to get in.
Ex-BioWare developers, and I could go on and on and on through this video. And what it all does is it builds in something that we've discussed earlier this year on this channel, that there is no single games industry anymore, not like there was 10 or 15 years ago. In indie or AA spaces, audiences can exist to support those games. And I think me and my team, and probably the audience of this channel, are actually in that indie, AA, and a bit of AAA space. We're part of that audience, but we're comparatively small. Expedition 33 could win Game of the Year. It might sell 4.4 million copies if it's the most successful game of its type. Most indies or AAs won't sell half of that. They won't sell a tenth of that. Expectations have to drop. New studios need smaller budgets. They need different plans for today's market.
Yeah.
And here's the tragedy. 3 to 5 years ago, these ex-Blizzard developers started making games for a different industry, one that wouldn't really exist whenever their game's released. And the hope for them is that they can course correct without losing all of their experience. Make no mistake, they'll lose much of it, but hopefully not all. And I say hopefully because, frankly, we cannot afford to lose these veterans. Not permanently. The games industry, and games as a medium, actually needs people with experience. The problem we faced is that the industry is doing an awful job supporting and fostering that experience. And yeah, that might suck for them, but you know who it also sucks for? You.
The gamers.
You won't get as good games as you otherwise could. Because we're in a world where good games like Sonderfolk or perhaps Wildgate simply can't get cut through.
They can't exist,
get the sales they need, can't get the money they need to support their ongoing development. And if even Blizzard veterans, with the backer of Blizzard's co-founder, all the networking, all the support, all of those like little soft things that someone accrues over a long career, if even those people with that support releasing good games can't make the numbers work, what does that mean for the rest of us? That's the thing that honestly worries me. Now, this sort of thing is important to you, like the state of the industry that actually produces the games that we play. I don't mean this from a purely altruistic perspective.
Despite the risks of Chinese investment, Chinese investment offers American companies access to capital and entry into the Chinese enormous market, which has more gamers than the entire U.S. population. I don't disagree that entering the Chinese market's a great thing, and Chinese investment can be a great thing. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm describing with the NetEase stuff is the investment was never real to begin with. It was just used as a ploy to position the company in a very risky stance and then pull the money to intentionally drive the company to the ground. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about foul play. Not necessarily you shouldn't take Chinese money. No, it's fine. The Chinese market's a great gaming market, yes. And if you can't find the money here, but you find it from a Chinese investor to keep your company alive, sure. But if that money was never real to begin with, and the only intent of investing in your company was to drive it into the ground because you're a foreign game maker compared to the Chinese local ones, that's fucked up. And that's what I think might be happening.
This even from a self-interested one. You want a healthy industry so that you can have more fun video games to play. If you want to really understand that, check out this video on Silksong. I can promise you, it's not a glazing session. It is about how unique that game's circumstances are. And frankly, it's a hell of a story.
Interesting video. I love watching videos like this because it dabbles into a lot of the shit that I work on every day. Very cool stuff. We'll see what happens with these companies. Yeah, the gaming industry is changing rapidly, like many industries. So we'll find out what happens with all these ex-Blizzard employees and just gaming in general going forward. A nice video from Bellular.